The Abbasid Dynasty. For centuries, it stood as a beacon of knowledge, culture, and power in the Islamic world. From the Atlantic shores of Morocco to the borders of India, the Abbasid caliphs ruled over a vast empire that witnessed a flourishing of art, science, and literature. This period, known as the Islamic Golden Age, saw the rise of renowned scholars, the translation of ancient Greek texts, and groundbreaking advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The echoes of this golden age still resonate today, reminding us of the enduring legacy of the Abbasid Caliphate. By the late 12th century, the Abbasid Caliphate, though still a symbol of Islamic unity, had been in decline for over a century. The once vast empire had fragmented into smaller independent states, each vying for power and influence. The caliph in Baghdad, while still recognized as the spiritual leader of the Muslim world, found his temporal authority greatly diminished. Internal divisions, economic woes, and the rise of powerful neighbors such as the Seljuk Turks and the Khwarezm Shahs had weakened the Abbasid grip on power. It is against this backdrop of decline and uncertainty that we begin our story with the reign of Nasir. In 1180, as the sun set on the reign of the Abbasid Caliph al-Musta'sim, a new era dawned with the ascension of his son, Nasir. Born to a Turkish slave woman named Zamarud, Nasir inherited a realm beset by challenges, a caliphate teetering on the precipice of decline. The once mighty Abbasids, their authority diminished by internal strife, and the ambitions of neighboring powers clung to a fraction of their former glory. Nasir, however, was not content to preside over a fading empire. He possessed a keen intellect, a shrewd political mind, and an unyielding determination to restore the Abbasid Caliphate to its former grandeur. Yet he understood that achieving this ambition required a delicate balancing act, a careful navigation of the treacherous currents of power that swirled around the caliphate. One of the most formidable obstacles Nasir faced was the influence of the Seljuk Turks. Once loyal protectors of the Abbasid caliphs, the Seljuks had, over the decades, become increasingly independent, their sultans wielding significant power and influence over the affairs of the caliphate. And Nasir recognized that true Abbasid revival hinged upon curtailing Seljuk dominance and reasserting the caliph's authority. To this end, Nasir embarked on a cunning and calculated campaign to weaken the Seljuks. He skillfully exploited divisions within the Seljuk ranks, playing rival factions against each other, sowing seeds of discord that would eventually bear fruit. Nasir also forged alliances with other regional powers who shared his desire to see the Seljuks humbled. While Nasir grappled with the Seljuk threat, he also dedicated himself to revitalizing the caliphate from within. He understood that true power stemmed not only from military might, but also from the flourishing of knowledge, culture, and the economy. Under his patronage, Baghdad, the jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate, witnessed a resurgence of intellectual and artistic activity. Recognizing the importance of a robust economy, Nasir implemented policies aimed at promoting trade and commerce. He invested in infrastructure projects, such as the construction of canals and caravanserais, which facilitated the flow of goods and people across the caliphate. Nasir also reformed the tax system, making it more equitable and efficient, which boosted state revenues and eased the burden on ordinary citizens. Furthermore, Nasir understood that the legitimacy of the Abbasid Caliphate rested not only on its temporal power but also on its spiritual authority. To bolster his standing among the Muslim masses, Nasir presented himself as a pious and devout ruler, a defender of the faith. He commissioned the construction of mosques and madrasas, centers of religious learning throughout the caliphate. Nasir's efforts to revive the Abbasid Caliphate were not without their challenges. Intrigues and rivalries within the court, coupled with the ever-present threat of external enemies, demanded constant vigilance. Yet through it all, Nasir persevered, driven by a vision of a restored and revitalized Abbasid Caliphate. It was during his rule that Salahuddin liberated Jerusalem from the Crusaders. As Nasir chipped away at Seljuk power, a new threat emerged from the east, the Khwarezm Shahs. This ambitious dynasty, centered in present-day Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, rapidly expanded its territories. The Khwarezm Shahs posed a direct challenge to the Abbasid Caliphate. The struggle for supremacy between Nasir and Ala ad-Din Tekish defined Nasir's reign. Control of key trade routes was crucial for dominance. Their rivalry played out on battlefields and in diplomacy. Yet, on the distant steppes, a storm was brewing, a force of unprecedented might. As Nasir's reign waned, whispers of a new power reached Baghdad, carried by travelers along the Silk Road. Tales spread of the fierce Mongols, led by the ambitious Temujin, known as Genghis Khan. These Mongols were like a force of nature, sweeping across the steppes, conquering all. At first these rumors seemed distant, but the Mongols were on the move, expanding their empire rapidly. In 1218, Genghis Khan turned westward, demanding submission from the Khwarezm Shah. The refusal led to dire consequences, and the Mongols unleashed their fury. The Khwarezm Empire fell, sending shockwaves through the region. The Abbasid Caliphate was spared initially, but Nasir couldn't ignore the catastrophe. The whispers of Mongol might became roars echoing through Baghdad. The fate of the Islamic world intertwined with these warriors. The year is 1225, and Nasir, the shrewd caliph, breathed his last. His passing marked the end of an era of stability. Az-Zahir, his son, ascended the throne. Az-Zahir was 52 when he became Khalifa. Guided by his wise mother, he was just and compassionate. Az-Zahir enacted sweeping reforms. His reign became a beacon of hope. He abolished unjust taxes. Az-Zahir uplifted the downtrodden. His subjects adored him. Az-Zahir's compassion extended beyond economic reforms. He understood that true prosperity encompassed not just material wealth, but also intellectual and spiritual growth. His father, Nasir, had laid the groundwork for a revival of learning in Baghdad, and Az-Zahir, a scholar at heart, was determined to see this renaissance flourish. The vast treasury amassed by Nasir, rather than being squandered on frivolous pursuits, was now redirected towards the noble pursuit of knowledge. Az-Zahir became a patron of scholars, poets, and artists, his court transforming into a hub of intellectual discourse and creativity. He believed that an enlightened citizenry was the bedrock of a strong and vibrant empire. Under his patronage, libraries overflowed with scrolls and codices, their shelves groaning under the weight of knowledge from far-off lands. Scholars, drawn to Baghdad by the caliph's generosity and the city's burgeoning reputation as a center of learning, engaged in lively debates that echoed through the grand halls of the palace. Az-Zahir himself often joined these discussions, his thirst for knowledge rivaling that of the most seasoned scholars. He understood that education was not a privilege reserved for the elite, but a right that should be accessible to all. To this end, he established schools and madrasas throughout the caliphate, ensuring that even children from the humblest backgrounds had the opportunity to unlock the treasures of knowledge. While Az-Zahir ushered in an era of peace and prosperity within his realm, the world beyond the caliphate's borders remained a turbulent and unpredictable place. The echoes of the Mongol conquests in the east, though distant, served as a chilling reminder of the forces that could shatter even the most stable of empires. The Abbasid Dynasty, centered in Egypt and Syria, once a bulwark against Crusader aggression and a source of stability in the region, was now plagued by internal strife. The descendants of the great Salahuddin, their unity shattered by petty rivalries and power struggles, seemed oblivious to the larger threat gathering on the horizon. Their infighting weakened the very fabric of Islamic unity, leaving the Muslim world vulnerable to external threats. Meanwhile, the Mongol war machine, fueled by an insatiable hunger for conquest, continued its relentless westward advance. The steppes of Central Asia, once home to thriving cities and centers of trade, now lay in ruins, testament to the Mongols' ruthlessness. Tales of their brutality preceded them like a harbinger of doom, spreading fear and uncertainty throughout the Islamic world. Despite the gathering storm clouds on the horizon, Az-Zahir remained focused on his ambitious agenda of reform and renewal. He believed that by strengthening the caliphate from within, by fostering a just and prosperous society, he could fortify his realm against any threat, whether from within or without. Tragically, fate had other plans. In 1226, after a reign of less than a year, Az-Zahir, the just and compassionate caliph who had brought hope and prosperity to his people, was struck down by illness. His sudden and unexpected death plunged the Abbasid Caliphate into mourning, the outpouring of grief a testament to the profound impact he had made in such a short time. The news of Az-Zahir's passing spread like wildfire, reaching even the most remote corners of the caliphate. People from all walks of life, from the wealthiest merchants to the lowliest beggars, mourned the loss of their beloved ruler. His reign, though fleeting, had left an indelible mark on their hearts, a reminder of what a just and compassionate leader could achieve. The year 1226 marked a somber transition for the Abbasid Caliphate. Al-Zahir, the beacon of justice and progress, had departed. His son, Al-Mustansir, inherited a heavy legacy. The world watched with hope and trepidation. Could he live up to his father's name? Al-Mustansir was not unprepared. He had witnessed his father's dedication to justice and knowledge. These principles formed Al-Mustansir's character. He understood the weight of expectation. History remembers rulers by their achievements. Al-Mustansir valued scholarship and knowledge. His reign saw a resurgence of intellectual thought. He recognized the strength of an enlightened populace. Ideas and knowledge elevate a civilization. His enduring legacy was the Madrasa Mustansiriya. In Baghdad, Al-Mustansir envisioned the Madrasa Mustansiriya, a beacon of learning rivaling the House of Wisdom. Renowned scholars flocked to teach and learn within its halls. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, literature, and history thrived here. A vast library housed tens of thousands of volumes of books. It is said that 160 camels were used to bring books to this library. Students and teachers received free food, including sweets and dry fruits. Al-Mustansir actively participated in debates, nurturing brilliance within its walls. Outside Baghdad, chaos reigned. The Ayyubid dynasty crumbled under internal strife. The Mongol Empire, relentless and unstoppable, extended its reach westward. Cities and provinces fell, which reduced the income of the Khalifa, which controlled the land of Iraq. The Islamic world faced an unprecedented threat. Al-Mustansir knew survival hinged on weathering the storm. Amidst fear, whispers of resistance emerged. Al-Mustansir funded the madrasa as defiance. Khafaji, his brother, rallied warriors with fiery speeches. The human spirit found strength in unexpected places. Al-Mustansir faced a dilemma: diplomacy or resistance. The Mongols were plundering the lands of Asia Minor, Mediterranean, and Black Sea. It is said that the Mongols avoided attacking the lands of the Khalifa because of his power and influence. All the Muslim cities that Mongols occupied still pronounced the name of the Khalifa during the khutbah. The courageous brother of the Khalifa, Khafaji, used to say that if he was given power, he would drive the Mongols away. But it was not meant to be. Within the palace, a different storm brewed. Al-Mustansir relied on his vizier, Al-Kami, who harbored ambitions. Upon the death of Al-Mustansir in 1242, his son became the next Khalifa with the title of Al-Musta'sim. Al-Musta'sim, his successor, was manipulated by Al-Kami. Al-Kami isolated the caliph and assumed control. Every decision furthered Al-Kami's agenda, betraying the caliphate. Al-Musta'sim was a simple and honest person, but lacked courage. After a disagreement with the Khalifa's son, Al-Kami plotted treason. Al-Kami sent a letter to Hulegu, the Mongol ruler of Khorasan at the time. In this letter, he told Hulegu that he would easily let him capture Iraq and Baghdad. To further his plans, Al-Kami convinced the Khalifa to reduce the number of his troops due to the expenditure of so many salaries. A major part of the army was distributed to different provinces and cities. The soldiers that stayed in Baghdad got their salaries from the taxes in the market, increasing hardships for the people. Afterwards, looting started and Al-Khami sent troops away from Baghdad. Meanwhile, the Mongols had just captured Alamut and put an end to the Nizari Ismailis. As the Mongols advanced, panic gripped Baghdad. Al-Khami sowed treachery, arguing for appeasement. Al-Musta'sim disbanded the army, leaving Baghdad vulnerable. Key commanders were recalled and targeted by Al-Khami. Al-Khami's deception left Baghdad defenseless. Hulagu, who based his actions on the sighting of the stars, sent a vast army as an advance contingent towards Baghdad. As soon as Al-Musta'sim found out, he sent Fatahuddin Dawood and Aybak, two experienced commanders, to confront the Mongols. A skirmish took place, and the Mongols retreated. The soldiers urged Fatahuddin to give chase to the Mongols and were soundly defeated, resulting in Fatahuddin's death. The rest of the soldiers fled to Baghdad. By now, Hulagu and his Mongols had reached Baghdad and laid siege to it. In 1258, Hulagu Khan besieged Baghdad. Panic spread as the Mongol horde approached. Al-Musta'sim realized his vizier's treachery too late. Khafaji rallied defenders, but the city was unprepared. The Mongols' siege engines reduced Baghdad to rubble. For 50 days, Baghdad's defenders fought desperately. Al-Khami betrayed the city, opening its gates to the Mongols. A massacre ensued with unimaginable brutality. The Tigris River ran red with blood. When Hulagu decided to kill the Khalifa, Al-Khami advised him that as he was the Khalifa of the Muslims, he should not be killed by a sword. So the Khalifa was rolled inside a carpet and trampled on by Mongol soldiers until he died. Al-Musta'sim was trampled to death, ending the Abbasid Caliphate. Next, Hulagu went to the great library of Baghdad, where thousands of books were kept. All these books were thrown into the Tigris River, now turning the water black from the ink of the books. All the royal palaces were demolished. Hence, in 1258, the rule of the Abbasid Dynasty, as an effective ruling family with its own territory, had come to an end. For the first time in Muslim history, there was no Khalifa. The fall of Baghdad in 1258 sent shockwaves across the Islamic world. The Tigris River, stained with ink and ash, mourned the Abbasid Caliphate's end. The Mongol conquest left a void, fragmenting the Islamic world, yet the spirit of resilience flickered amidst the ruins. There was an Abbasid family member that survived by the name of Abul Qasim Ahmad. He was the uncle of Al-Musta'sim. He was imprisoned in Baghdad but managed to escape and remain hidden in Syria. While the sun set on Baghdad, casting long shadows over the ruins of the Abbasid Caliphate, a new dawn was breaking on the banks of the Nile. In Cairo, a new power was rising, the Mamluks. These warrior slaves became a formidable force. Baybars, the Mamluk Sultan, formed a group of 10 noble Arabs to find Abul Qasim Ahmad. In 1261, he was found and taken to Cairo, where he was received honorably by the Sultan, the scholars, and government officials outside Cairo. He entered the city honorably and was made Khalifa with the title of Al-Mustansir II. 3.5 years had passed until the Muslim world had a Khalifa again. Baybars proclaimed Abul Qasim Ahmad as the new Caliph, Al-Mustansir II. Although Abbasid Caliphs continued to be chosen in Cairo, they were under the control of the Mamluk sultans and had no real power. They held no territory or political power. During the time of the Prophet, Medina was the center of power of the Muslim world. During the time of the Umayyads, Damascus was the center of power of the Muslim world. During the time of the Abbasids, Baghdad was the center of power of the Muslim world. From now on, Cairo would become the center of power of the Muslim world. It was the time of the Mamluks to take center stage at the helm of the Muslim world. Cairo became the new center of gravity for Islamic civilization. The Mamluks played a crucial role in preserving Islamic culture and repelling external threats. The intellectual, artistic, and cultural achievements of the Abbasid era continued to resonate throughout the Islamic world. We hope you have learned a great deal about the Abbasid dynasty. Don't forget to subscribe for more historical knowledge about Muslim dynasties.